I'm John Graham. I was born in Ottawa on July 1, 1867, the same day the Dominion of Canada came into being. My father, Francis, and my mother Mary Ann moved to Canada from Ireland in 1860 and settled down in Ottawa. My father was employed with the county jail as a turnkey when he moved here, though it was clear he was increasingly drawn to firefighting. My father joined the Central Hook and Ladder Company with the Ottawa Fire Department as a volunteer. He was elected as captain of the Conqueror Company, and when the paid brigade was organized, my father gave up his position at the county jail. As captain, we were able to live above the station. I endured much turmoil and heartbreak, starting with the death of my older sister Edith, who died in 1872 of chronic croup, and then my dear mother's death in 1873, she died while giving birth. After my mother's death, my younger brother and myself were left with my father taking care of us while providing for our needs. Living upstairs in the captain's quarters certainly kept us busy. The station was a busy station, and it seemed my father was always on calls. I remember my duty as a 7-year-old boy was to ensure the stall doors were closed after the firemen left. Another dark time in my life came when I had just turned 10 years old. I remember one evening when my father came home after fighting an overnight blaze at the BYTOWN plant. It was June 1877, and there was a large overnight fire at the plant. I remember my father coming home and coughing and sputtering from the smoke he'd inhaled. Over the next few weeks, including the day I turned 10, my father's condition became worse. On July 25, 1877, at the age of 37, my father passed away of lung damage. My brother and myself were now orphaned. My father was a proud Orangeman, and at his last meeting of the Grand Lodge of Orange Young Britons he was elected Deputy Grand Master. He had many admirers. My father was a generous, warm-hearted, honorable man who was respected by all. The funeral was held the next day at Freemasons. My father was sadly missed by all who knew him, and certainly there was a deep void left in my brother and myself. The Ottawa Daily Citizen from July 28, 1877 referred to my father's death reads, "Frank Graham, guardian of No. 3 station of the Ottawa Fire Department, who died of his injuries received in the performance of his duties." My father now rests at Beechwood Cemetery in Ottawa. With the City Fire Department aware of my father's fatal devotion to duty, and how his death had left myself without either parent, they took me under their wings. By the late 1880s I was serving as a spare at various stations, working part-time in relief duty across the city. I was hired permanently in 1891. I moved quickly through the ranks to become captain of No. 3 station in Sandy Hill in 1897. 20 years after my father's death. On August 10, 1891 I married my bride Eleanor Edward. She was 18 and I was 24. We started a family. She was the love of my life. 1897 saw many changes within the fire department, including the retirement of Chief William Young and the hiring of Peter Provost from Montreal to become Ottawa's next chief. One of my proud moments was when I was able to wear my captain's helmet from Station 3. In February of 1910, after the sudden death of Chief Provost, I was unanimously chosen by the 24-member of City Council to become Ottawa's new fire chief. One newspaper article from February 1910 has a title describing me as being the future chief of brigade was born in fire station. From day one as chief of the department things moved quickly. Progression in modernization was rapid. Changes in building codes and fire prevention. I certainly pushed City Council to build more stations as the city was expanding. The city's firefighting force went from 74 to 179 during my time as chief, and saw motorized engines went from 0 to 74 in our fleet. Here I am with city officials in a photo of our first motorized vehicle. One of my largest fires as chief included the Parliamentary Centre block. I always told federal officials that the Parliament buildings were a disaster waiting to happen. Sure enough, February 1916, the Great Fire that destroyed all but the library occurred. Here I am in the back of one of our department vehicles. This photo of myself was taken in 1914. I remember when Captain Harry Wigmore passed away in March 1921. He was highly esteemed throughout the department. His funeral procession moved to St. Patrick's Church where a service was held before moving to Notre Dame Cemetery for the interment. Here I am being driven to the funeral. Little would I know that I would have the same fate in May of that year. On May 27, 1921 I suddenly passed away of a heart failure. I was 54 years old. Large crowds turned out for my funeral. I remember just months before I died, I pressed for the construction of a new fire station to serve the rapidly growing area of Ottawa South. That station would be station number 10 at 224 Sunnyside Avenue. I never did see the completion of Station 10 and its opening. I certainly am honored to have number 10 named the Graham Station.